does harassment, who manages to harass enough, who manages to win a battle. Stats going to have his High Templar out much sooner. Actually going to blindly storm the Observer just on the Shimmer. Spotting the Shimmer, going to storm the Observer, having absolutely no time to get out of there. So that's nice play to deny the scout. JangBi's going to have to get another Observer out there if he wants to do anything. Meanwhile, Stats also going for those weapons 1, and that exactly might be what wins him the game. Even if though he has, say it's even armies. Oh, wow. That's nice. Our Dark Archon. I don't think I've ever seen... I'm trying to remember the time I've seen a Dark Archon in a PvP, and my brain's coming up empty. So there's going to be a Dark Archon coming in from JangBi. He's doing something funky. Actually, going to move out some of his Dragoons. But there's going to be a couple of cannons alongside some forces, alongside some High Templar to meet him. So that attack's not going to be too successful. Observatory, meanwhile, coming in for Stats. He's just getting those Sparks facility just to get those Observers on the field to get the Scout out. Still has his Dark Templar moving out in the field, spotting a probe, most likely going for the expansion that this 1130 going to be able to pick that probe off, or at least at the very least force him back. Probe does not put down an expansion. JangBi actually moving some of his forces out to a slightly more defendable position. We're going to see what he actually tries to do with his Dark Archon. I'm actually a little bit surprised, and I think this is playing very risky. Going for usual High Templar would actually be a little bit smarter. This is going to delay his storms a lot. He's going to be able to pick out this Probe Scout. There's, of course, and meanwhile, even a shuttle coming in with a couple of High Templar. So I think this is exactly the move that Stats needs to go for. If he manages to get some economic damage done, because he will be able to plant, despite, there are a couple of Dragoons waiting for it, but if he manages to get that shuttle in there, into that natural expansion, he's going to be able to do a ton of damage, storm that entire probe line, and then a couple of minutes later just storm in with a highly superior army and do a crap load of damage. Actually going to move out a little bit, actually using a shuttle to protect his High Templar instead of the usual Reaver. Still don't know whether he has the Scout in that one single Dark Archon. Probe is going to come in very close to those Dragoons. Think spotted that, not quite sure. Dragoons are going to meet him there. Dragoons from both sides. Going to take a lot of shots on him with these with the shuttle. Escape. One of the High Templars get dropped. Both High Templars get dropped. So they're going to get some storms off. One storm goes off. We're going to see when another storm goes off. I don't think the High Templar gets a storm off. Doesn't get killed, though. Did escape and do actually a lot of damage to those Dragoons, weakening them heavily. So despite Stats, the losing that shuttle doesn't get much damage. Doesn't take too much damage. Other than that, lose High Templar are also damaged, but still, pretty beautiful play there. Managing to save that, do a lot of damage alongside. Let's see, JangBi on the field with his own High Templar now, has a fairly decently sized army. Picking off the Observer there of JangBi. He has an Archon, actually. I thought he was going to go for something. He's actually not going. He's going for Archons alongside Dark Archons. Jesus, I am completely surprised what he's going for. Dark Templar going to go and pick off the probe and going to run in before the cannon starts picking off at him. So JangBi has established a third base. Stats, I think, actually think of doing exactly the same at the 4 o'clock position. Both players have decently sized armies. Highly different, though, because JangBi has a lot of Dragoons and Zealots. Both players have a lot of Dragoons and Zealots, but where Stats has High Templars with Storms, and quite a decent number of those, JangBi actually has Dark Archons and regular Archons. So he has an army that really wants to get in close. Dark Archon's going to come in. We're going to see what it does to do. Oh, nice feedback on a High Templar there. But meanwhile, loses his Dark Archon. I think he only managed to get, of course, a feedback. Didn't manage to get a feedback off, but other than that, really not much else. Don't really know whether that worked out for you, dude. Okay, managed to pick off a High Templar, but other than that, not really too much else done. Not quite sure we actually got 2 feedbacks off. I only think it was 1. Meanwhile, now Stat's going to move actually towards the 11:30 o'clock. Dragoon's going to come in from the right side alongside some Zealots, and has his own Archon out in the field, actually, just to make sure they don't get feedback. There's Dark Archon has been taken out. See, JangBi has a lot more Archons to work with. Doesn't have quite as many Dragoons. Not actually managing to get those Archons very close in, but does push some of those Stats as Dragoons back with his own Zealots. But I don't think JangBi really has enough army for this. Those Dark Templars only also, after the cannons have been picked off, Dark Templar are doing a lot of damage. And this entire probe line is going to be forced to mill back. Only an Archon fighting at this moment. I think JangBi is actually going to lose this 11:30 base. Doesn't have enough force to really move in and try to do anything there. While Stats, meanwhile, gets his own third going. So, critical for Stats to get into this game to pick that off. And JangBi now in a horrible position. He lost a decent amount of, quite a few forces there as well. Going to be adding in gateways. But I honestly feel going for the Dark Archon strategy was not really something I wanted to go for. That's very unorthodox. And sometimes when you go something for orthodox, amazing things happen. But more often than not, when you go for something unorthodox and crazy, and kind of very weird, it just ends up being a huge disadvantage. 2 forges spinning now for stats, so he's going to get a huge upgrade advantage. JangBi still only on 1 forge. I think he has a weapons 1 upgrade at this point. Not really much else. He has, what was that, 8 gateways at this point, I believe. Feel? Yeah, right. Feel out what the game tells you, Wrench, feel it. Both players have weapons 1, but while JangBi's going to get weapons 2 and no armor upgrades, we are going to be seeing weapons 2 and armor 1 from stats. It's also, never mind the fact that he has an economic advantage at the moment and going to have more troops out in the field, he's going to have a weapons advantage. That's also huge. JangBi not having any storms out in the field, going to try to reestablish the 1130. He's going to have to defend it strongly. Stats, meanwhile, going to expand all the way to the 3rd, going to get a 4th base going, and of course, he has 2 forces up, both fairly large, and meanwhile just reinforcing them, and he feels fairly safe. He's been putting cannons all over the place to make sure there aren't going to be any drops coming in. I mean, adding even more gateways, sitting on, what is that, 10, I think? And JangBi, he's going to have to do something. Economic damage is critical for him. Critical for him to take down one of those bases, but several groups of forces out in the field for his stats, so he's just going to play defensively where he establishes his 4th. He's going to allow JangBi to establish his own 3rd, but he's so far ahead right now. He's been mining off one base stronger than JangBi for quite a while. He's also picking off that base, not allowing mining for quite a while, just giving them a huge advantage. JangBi's going to have to do something. I'm not really sure what. He doesn't have, not having those storms is really bad for him. He's going to have those Archons, but upside there are going to be Archons for stats as well. There are going to be engagements coming in. Stats getting some storms out in the field. He has more forces, Dragoons, even more storms coming off on him, hitting a lot of JangBi's own Dragoons. JangBi going to come in, try to... I think this is his last attack right here. Some Dragoons and Archons as well. Still more storms coming in from stats. Ironic that JangBi, the master of storms, is actually going to get killed by them here. And I actually feel that just by his own tech decisions, he lost this game. He fought off the early Dark Templar very well. He was a little bit behind economically, but not so bad that he wouldn't have won it. So he finally GG's here. I honestly feel his decisions to go for something unorthodox were founded in... I don't know what they were founded in, but not intelligence. Not founded on intelligence. Because stats counted very well. He managed to get a feedback off, but then he just got his Dark Archon picked off, so not really much done there. What are you going to do? Oh boy. So, this is going to come down to the wire, this one. Finally one that doesn't finish off in 2 sets. This is going to be the 3rd set coming in next. We're going to see whether JangBi decides to stick something a little bit more manly. Just you guys wrenching out. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed.